Welcome to The Next Interview, a podcast about careers, life, and achieving our greatest potential. And now, here's your host, Doland White.
Hi, as the announcer said, I'm Doland White, and welcome to The Next Interview. On today's podcast, we're going to talk to Matt Levenhagen, and Matt's going to talk a little bit about getting to know people, change, his trajectory and career, the fact that there is no luck, that there is a thread that stitches our path together. He's going to talk about difficult decisions, where he's at today, and then also things that we can do to build trust, not only with our team, but with our vendors, with agencies, with other people that we work with. So I hope you enjoy the podcast. Let's get started. Here's Matt Levenhagen. So thanks everybody for joining us on today's podcast for the next interview. And I'm honored today, really, honored, literally, not figuratively, but honored to have Matt Levenhagen on the call on this podcast today as guest. We were just talking before the podcast around guest zero, but he's guest one because there was no zero version of the podcast. I don't know how you do guest zero, but maybe that's the starting point for thinking. I'm not sure how that goes, but I'm honored to have you on the podcast. And Matt, in his own right, is a podcaster with hundreds of episodes and lots of things under his belt. So thank you for coming to spend time with me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dolan. Thanks for having me. I'm super, super, super honored to be your first guest. If we're ones and zeros, we're in a tech world, ones and zeros, everything's ones and zeros. I'll be either one.
Thank you very much. You could be my number one. Okay. I won't. My wife isn't home; she can't hear that, so you'll be my. Because the question will come up after this. What do you mean, Matt? You're number one. Anyway, so thanks, dude. This is an opportunity to just so everybody has an opportunity to kind of get to know you and know your background. I've known you for many years, and we've worked together and confabulated together, and just an opportunity to kind of have people get to know who you are. So maybe give a couple of minutes just to introduce what you do, where you came from, a little bit about your story, and then I got a piece of paper. I got questions for you. I got stuff.
All right, we'll get to it. Yeah, I'll give you the condensed version because it's been a long journey. I'm older than I probably look, in my early 50s. So I've been doing the business thing for like 30 plus years. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it all goes back to the early 90s. That was my first business was actually being a creative, a fine artist, painting on canvas. And I had some shows, I did some commissions, and then I got tired of being a struggling artist in the mid 90s and went back to school for business, ended up meeting somebody that ran an insurance agency. I joined him there. We ended up building an independent insurance agency. We did that for a number of years. That takes us up to about 2000. And so I learned a lot in that process, building that type of business. And then I ventured off to actually get into contracting for a few years. Had something called Matt's Painting and Repair, MPR Remodeling. Did that for a couple of years. Ended up going back to insurance for a little while, built my own little Levenhagen insurance agency, and did that for a number of years. But that was about 2003. I decided I wanted a URL, a website address on my business card.
Ooh.
So I figured out how to build a website. And that first website led to my first affiliate commission because I was promoting a dental plan. And I put this weird link on my website and somebody actually purchased through it. I got a check in the mail for $40. What is this affiliate thing?
Wow.
I made money doing nothing. I must have referred somebody there or something. But so I explored that. That took me on this journey of figuring out affiliate marketing, finding other ways to make money online. I discovered pay-per-click advertising. Google AdWords was the main one back then. Mm-hmm. Did Google. So I promoted affiliate programs with Google AdWords, SEO. I learned SEO, building niche sites. I eventually got my own products or built my own products, developed my own products, digital products to teach people what I was doing. That led to building memberships. Did that until about 2010 to about 2011. I started to get a little burned out, and a lot had changed in the landscape, so I couldn't do what I was doing very well anymore. So I got slapped around by Google a lot. So I tired of that, and that's a whole story in and of itself. But in 2012, I had to make a decision. So what was I going to do next? And that decision led to me deciding to go into web development and web design, because in those years, I built all those websites for myself, promoting my own products, doing niche marketing, affiliate marketing, all that stuff, creating sales pages. Like, what if I did that for somebody else? Let me try that. So I tried to do some freelancing for a while, and was relatively successful doing that. I worked through a freelance site online. It was called Elance back then, and then I got some referrals and did various things for a few years. Then I went talking to a friend. They said they needed a WordPress guy, and WordPress was my biggest focus. And they had this idea for to build WordPress themes. Mm-hmm. And you might be familiar with Jason Fladlin and Wilson Matos.
A little bit.
It was Jason's idea, Will's idea, but they didn't know how to build it and implement it. So they brought me in to be the developer and start building these things. I eventually worked for them for 3 years, employed. That was like the first time I had been employed for a while, and the last time. In the end of 2018, I left Rapid Crush, which is the company.
Right.
They were getting out of the WordPress business. They tried to pivot to something else there. It didn't work out. So I left, and I started this thing called an agency. During that time frame, I had learned a ton. I had honed my craft. I had built a team. I just learned a ton there, and plus my experience with internet marketing, all that stuff. I thought, well, maybe I can try my hand at not just freelancing, but building an agency. And 5.5 years later, a little bit more than 5.5 years later, Here I am, still doing it. Built it.
Wow. And at the senior age that you're at now. I'd have treated you with more respect if I knew you were that old, but I don't know. We'll have to.
53. Can you believe it?
That's a lot. I still got you. You'll have to.
Got a little bit of gray.
Let me know when you get to this point. Well, I'll see you when you get to this point.
A few more years yet.
Yeah. No, that's a great story. It's interesting. I think one of the things that we were blessed with in our life, obviously, is the journey. Right. There was a guy that was a old mentor of mine, Bob Proctor, and one of the things that Bob and I would talk about. One day he had asked me, how are you doing, Doland? And Bob was about 4 inches, almost 2 feet taller than I was, and I said, "Oh, Bob, I'm the luckiest guy in the world." And he very instantly, physically reminded me by doing this, a statement that says, there's no such thing as luck, and which left a divot and a bruise, but that's another story. But it's interesting, the kind of the journey, kind of the trajectory of our journeys, especially as you talk about, you made the change and decided it was time to move over and start designing websites and get into stuff because you had built a website and it kind of seemed cool. When you were, you had insurance and had your own painting company and had the things that you did there and the success you had on that side. When you're thinking about that change and kind of that decision process, what, if you could kind of harken back to those days, what kind of went through your mind around, does this, this feels like the right direction for my journey and was it passion? Did it scratch a creative itch? Kind of what brought you to that?
That's a good question. Yeah. I mean, so the art switch going away from art was literally, I was tired of struggling. I thought I was going to be a Picasso and spend my whole life doing this thing, but I realized I do like money. I do like, and I do like business. So, which was my secondary passion. So doing the insurance thing initially, I had been bartending to pay the bills. That's how I paid the bills when I was an artist. That was something where it was business related. It was a new thing check out. I was always kind of very interested in sales. I had some sales jobs over those years too. And I liked the guy that asked me to do business with him. He actually was a patron at my bar, and he would be at my bar all the time, and that's how I got to know him. So I got to know him, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There was already a relationship there going in, and so I tried it out. I liked it. I enjoyed doing that because I actually enjoyed being an insurance agent. But a few years into it, it was more of a financial thing. I didn't feel like I was going to be able to grow. In fact, I was contracting a little bit financially for various reasons. But and I actually, to supplement my income for a while, I did this painting and repair thing on the side, on the weekends, nights. And what ended up happening is I put this little ad in the newspaper for Matt's Paint and Repair. It was Milwaukee paper, it was Milwaukee Journal back then. I think they're still around. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Journal Sentinel, something. Anyway, a little in the business section. And I started getting business. Just a little ad. And that, it started to pile up. And I'm like, well, this has potential. And not only that, I enjoy it. It kind of tickled that kind of creative side of me, and I like building things, and I had done woodworking in the past, and so eventually I just said, you know what, I got to see where this takes me, and that's why I left that agency, and I pursued that. So that was I was kind of pursuing something for growth reasons. I felt stale where I was, kind of stuck, and I wanted to see what I could do with this, and it was something that it was kind of fun, and I built it really, really quick, and built a team, and built, it was many months and projects deep, and that's a whole story in itself. But that was a great thing. And then from there, when I found the internet, it was also kind of a financial thing.
Yeah.
It was a challenging business, doing contracting. And here's something where I love computers. I'm a nerd. I can sit on my computer and do stuff. And I had that little success with my website. Well, where can this take me? And I've been, since like 2004, 5. I mean, I've been working out of the same room all those years. Here I could work at home. I could do my thing, build a business. So that really appealed to me. And then I just, from there, the other big pivot was from internet marketing, affiliate marketing, to doing web design development. That was another thing that kind of built on that. I really enjoyed the creative side of it and the technical side of it. Yeah. So it was always kind of just chasing what excited me and what I could be passionate about, and what would help me grow and do more.
Yeah.
In a nutshell.
It's interesting because it's the kind of that trajectory, and that, that again, go back to use that word journey, right? There's a thread that stitches all of that together, because as you discover those things on your path, and there's that moment, it's kind of like, well, that's really interesting. I could probably develop a passion for that, and I might be able to make more than $40, which, by the way, on a personal note, that thing back here, I've written probably 300 songs in my career. That's more than I've ever made on any of the songs I've ever made. 40. Anyway, so just be clear about royalties. But no, it's interesting. One of the things that I'd like to spend just a few minutes talking about is, and we've had these conversations separately, is kind of just maybe a minute or two on the kind of the growth of your agency, because as you stepped out, to become an agency and provide services to clients, kind of what that looked like as you evolved into an agency. And one of the things I'm really interested in, and I think those that listen to the podcast will be interested in, is through that process, what you learned about developing relationships with your clients. And one of one of the things that you said just in passing a moment ago was you got to know. And because you got to know the guy at the bar, you developed a level of trust. And because you developed trust, you were willing to stake, hey, maybe I can work with this guy and maybe make some money. So I'd like to talk just a little bit about, share with you, or have you share just a little bit about kind of the growth of your agency and what you've done through that by developing trust with your client. Because in my mind, that's one of the things that sets you apart. I think that's part of the relationship, but it's your story, and I would like to hear more about it. So tell me
Here I
about
am.
that. Go.
So yeah, yeah, the relationships are so important. Like I think about all the things that I've done over the years and every business I've been in, I've always seeking partnerships with people that I know, trust, or try to trust. That has not always worked out. There's bad stories too along the way.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, with the agency, right from the get go, I had already established relationships. I'd been online for years. I'd gotten to know people. There's somebody you might remember, Doland, Ryan Lawrence.
Sure.
He was actually on the team that I built at Rapid Crush. So Ryan, he had left Rapid Crush before I had, and he had gone back to freelancing.
Mm-hmm.
And when I left and I was going to try this agency thing, he was the first person I did work for his client. I had actually gotten him the job with his client because I was a reference. But so then he brought me in to help out this client. It's a whole thing. But there's a relationship right out of the gates. I have somebody I can work with and we can do business with, and I can help him out until I figure out what I'm doing. And in those beginning days, it was really just figuring out what I'm doing. I knew I wanted to build websites. I wanted to build an agency, do web design, but I didn't know what that would look like over time. I just took action. So that was the first thing. And then eventually there's other people that I'd known that I started doing business with as well. And so it was these connections I had that was part of the foundation. But then there was also just a lot of random people that I would do work for and try different types of projects and stuff. It was just taking whatever I could in that first year or two and figuring out what I really enjoyed doing or identifying that kind of niche or vertical I could go after. Right. Mm-hmm. And what ended up happening over time is I started talking to a lot of agencies and because there's a lot of agencies out there, digital marketing agencies or whatever that need help. And they've struggled outsourcing or they've struggled in very common ways. And some of the stories I would hear, I would listen to this and when I started to hear it repeated, I'm like, I think I can solve some of these problems, based on my background and what I do and understanding what they're doing and, what they need. And so I started to define kind of agencies as one of my verticals or kind of a vertical or a niche, whatever you want to call it. An audience, avatar. So I kind of define them like, I'm going to try to build relationships with agencies. Right. Sure. And so that was a pivotal moment when I'm like, we can service agencies. And so I just started on this kind of trajectory of just building one relationship after another and talking to agencies and finding ways to connect with them. And when I would connect with an agency, I always started with the relationship. I always pay attention in the beginning. Do I even like this person? And there was a few instances where I didn't. There was one agency in the very beginning that I worked with them for a year and a half. Yeah. Hopefully you won't listen to this. But at some point I remember I literally said to him, I said, this is going to be our last project together.
Like, really? What was it? Just not to break your flow, but it's interesting you say that. What was it, if I can ask, and we won't divulge the name of the client or the agency, but what was the disconnect there that caused that?
That's a great question. It had been something that it was just little things over time. It was communication issues and expectations,
Oh,
and
gotcha.
it was just we weren't flowing. We weren't connecting well. And I don't know if it could have been partly a personality thing. Um, I don't, it was hard to even pinpoint. It was more of a feeling. And we'd have these like kind of not arguments, but just kind of disagreements about things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it just, something just wasn't gelling. And so we had done a bunch of projects together over that time frame. And it was just this one project. We were having issues, and I just don't want to work like this,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to work in this type of environment with somebody that has an attitude or whatever, you know. So
Yeah.
that was that. And there was other instances where I would did a project for somebody. There's one I'm thinking of that this person was just not the person I wanted to do business with. It was he the way he did business and showed up was not somebody I wanted to deal with on a daily basis.
Sure. Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so does that answer your question? Hopefully.
It does. I think the kind of the reason why I wanted us to pause there is I think a lot of people in their careers, at least I've discovered this, working with people and coaching execs and doing the stuff that running companies, people inside of organizations, and also in that that client vendor kind of relationship. There's a myth, I think, that sits in the back of their mind that they've got to put up with the BS. That I'm not here to like you, and I'm not here to be, feel good about it. But so I'm really here to do something, and therefore I'm going to just tolerate the BS. And so you end up with kind of this bipolarness in your relationship, where you are like this, like we are now, where you've got positive and smile and do those kinds of things, and then you leave the room and you get a cold beverage in your hand of some kind, probably Diet Coke, and a cold beverage in your hand, and the conversation changes to so and so is bloody 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 bloody, and so you end up in this kind of bipolar relationship around that, and you can't succeed that way. There's no way to succeed because you can't get past that, no matter how hard you try. So what I found interesting is that you stopped and said, we're not going to do this anymore.
Yeah, it wasn't even, it was just matter of fact. Like I just, kind of reached that. Yeah, I think we can decide on how we want to build our businesses and who we want to work with. I think it's that
Mm-hmm.
simple. And I'll put up with things to a point. I mean, I don't expect everyone to be perfect and happy all the time. But you're doing business, but there should be this, when you show up and you're working on stuff together, you're building each other's businesses, you're working together,
Sure.
you're growing this thing, and you're solving problems. You shouldn't have that underlying those feelings like, is he telling me the truth, or am I going to have to worry about them doing such and such a thing? Or you
Sure.
shouldn't have those other types of feelings in there. It should just be, let's get the work done, let's have fun, and then we'll chit chat afterwards, and how's the family doing kind of conversations. That's what you want. Somebody you can have
Yeah.
a beer with if you drink.
Yeah. Right. For those who enjoy beer. Those of us who, kind of as you're, taking that kind of lesson forward, as so you began to grow your agency, and how do you, there's all these things that we get to learn, right? It's the Zen statement, right? Fall 6, rise 7. So we learn from all these things that we get to go experience. What How do you build your relationships now with your clients? Because one of the things that I respect about your business and your focus, and you talk about this outside of your company in your own, and I'll ask you more later about to tell people how to find more information. But will you talk about that, about building relationships so that relationship is not this, it's more like that. So how do you model that, and how do you bring clients into that kind of a structure when you don't own their mind, bodies, and souls? They've got their own turmoil and their own white noise and things going on, and your job is to help them get to an outcome. How do you do that?
Yeah, I think just like sales is kind of a little bit of a numbers game. You have to get in front of a bunch of people, and you find your people. But when I'm working with somebody, there's this feeling out period. Somebody recently asked me this: that do you build a relationship first and then do business, or do you do business and then build a relationship? Or I think it kind of can happen in parallel, right? Oftentimes, like in my business, we'll do some sample projects, some small projects at first, and start working together. But within that process, you get to know how that other team and that other company works, and what that person's personality is over time. So it kind of happens organically, and then you can kind of pick up those signals, like this person, there's an issue, with this person's personality in this situation or whatever.
Yeah.
But then you start to, you kind of want to naturally be able to talk to that person like a friend, like somebody that's, you want to be able to talk about. When I get on calls with my partners or clients, it literally is, how's the family? How's your health? Hey, did you watch that, the golf tournament the other day? Whatever you are into, those are threaded in. Most of the time you're doing business, but, and it's, so it happens sort of organically, but it's being able to say that what I don't want to be, you got to be able to define what that is. For me, I don't want to be an order taker. That's not what we do. We work with you, and there's mutual respect. And so I have to feel like that partner, that client respects us as much as, we respect them.
Right.
So it's a two-way street. It's not just them, telling us what to do, so that's how I've defined it. I think you have to kind of define it. Some people may be able to go beyond that. Some people may not care as much about that. But for me, that's how I approach a situation. Once I start working with somebody for a while and it feels good, and we're getting stuff accomplished, there's other pieces to that. We communicate in the same ways, right? When I'm working with somebody, some things I'm learning in the beginning is how they communicate. That's why you do the sample projects. Like, how are we going to figure out? We have a lot of conversations around how we communicate, what tools we use, who's a point of contact, who is, all those things you have to answer. Is everything urgent? You don't want to work with somebody that, that's another, barrier you can put up. Like, I don't want to work with anybody. Everything's urgent. Yeah. Everything's on fire all the time. I can't have that. So you just kind of feel that out through just doing the work. And so if the communication's in line, money is a big part of it, right? I've had conversations where we did the work and I wasn't getting paid. And I bring that up. But I don't bring it up like, why aren't you paying me? I just bring it up like, so we got this invoice out here. What's your process? How long should I expect for that to, get paid? Yeah. Is there something I can do to, so I have expectations, and that might turn into an apology, and that's happened recently. And the next thing you know, now that's the top of the conversation every time we do something.
Sure.
But you want somebody like that. They care about, okay, Matt cares about getting paid and cash flow. We need to pay attention to that. So it's that. It's also being able to talk with somebody talk to somebody that wants to grow with you, like work with you. I had a recent conversation the last few months with an agency partner where we actually got on a call and he asked me, like, Matt, where do you see yourself in 10, 20 years? What's your exit plan?
Wow.
And we talked about doing more together and what we could, how we could grow together and stuff. And,
sure.
And those are good signals that you're in a good place.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a great thing. I used to, probably one of the lessons I learned was from a guy. His name was Joff Wells, and I don't know that Joff is still out there doing what he was doing, but I was doing a project for 20th Century Fox when Fox was rolling out all the Fox stations and all of the, they were doing that, and we were doing all of the support and all kinds of stuff behind it. And it was the first time I'd ever had a client sit down with me and have the conversation about what are we doing next year, and what does that look like? And if I'm using you for the same things next year, then we probably need to go find a different relationship, because I'd like our relationship to get better over the years. And he classified it as kind of like, so if we're going to get married, I want my marriage to be better, right? As we go further down the path, I want us to do more, be more, travel, do stuff, and kind of do that. So it's interesting you talk about that from a relationship perspective with your clients.
It's not even agency. Yeah, it's not even just agency partners. It can be clients too, or just direct clients like we have.
Yeah,
have relationships with, because the beautiful thing about our model is we grow with the clients. If the clients do well, if we can help the clients do better, we come along for that ride.
Right.
We're going to do better too. So
right, yeah. And one thing, the other thing too, I like your kind of just a comment you made just kind of in passing, which was really to focus on getting to know what is it that you're trying to solve. What's the problem? Yeah. And having an understanding of that problem, which gives you a chance to kind of step back and say, am I the right guy for this? Or are we the right people to come do this for you? And
yeah, that kind of underpins the kind of relationship, right? I mean, it's like you still have to have something if you have a strategic partnership,
right?
Like we're bringing something to the table to help them do more, to do better, to sell more, to do whatever. Also, maybe and our benefit is going to be, reaching a market we may never have reached before, or being able to do things we couldn't do on our own. So yeah, for sure. I mean, you have to, cause I think about each client and each agency we work with, each one's a little bit different. We're solving a little bit different problems. So those beginning conversations are about what are you trying to solve? And then this is how we can come in and maybe work with you. But yeah, you have to have alignment there as well. And like you said, it might, over time, that may change and might not be the right fit anymore. But
yeah, it's interesting. Well, as we kind of approach the time, our time together, kind of the end of that time together, there's, I've got a list of like 19 questions here, which we're not going to ask any of them today. They're rapid fire. What's your favorite color? Do you like pizza? Some other
blue,
things.
yes.
We can then, let's see, yeah, blue, yes. I think the one thing that there is a question I do want to ask, and it really is, as leaders, because you're leading, kind of from a unique spot. You're leading your team and your agency. You're leading vendor relationships that you serve to help solve their client problems, and you're also leading their client direct. So you're kind of in this world we think of you as the center of all this, which everybody should think of you as the center anyway. But with you as the center of all this, you're leading kind of all these things on it, and the fact that we are human and all through this. If you had to think the thing that you struggle with the most, right? Your focus for you, what is that focus with you that you strive to attain for you personally, so that, as the glue to kind of all of these things, to keep all those things in motion. So it's a good leadership question. What do you struggle with?
What do I struggle with? Yeah. That's a good question. I think there's a number of struggles I've solved over the years. I figured it out, figured out how to focus, figured out how to say. That's why I've been doing a podcast for 3.5 years straight. Haven't missed a week. Like I got cadence figured out. The thing I think I struggle with is probably trying to stay on path and keep the vision in play, like there's a lot of things that can distract you in business, and there's a lot of things I want to do. And so like I do, services is our number one thing, web design
Sure.
services. But I also like to build products. So we sell some WordPress plugins, and
Yeah.
then I also want to build my personal brand over here. Doing that, it's trying to keep that though. Like I feel like I'm in a good place now, but there's always this entrepreneurial energy that wants to do more. But I realize from a financial perspective and the time in my life, like this is the struggle for me right now is realizing I'm running out of time, Doland. This is my last hurrah. All those in my 30s and 40s, I could take a lot of risks. I took a lot more risks back then.
Sure.
Now it's like I really need to be confident. I have to remind myself daily because like all of us, we start to doubt ourselves a little bit. Am I making the right decisions? Am I focused on the right things? That's what I'm trying to say here is there's a lot of things I could be focused on and I could be or become, but right now it's important for me to stay grounded. And my wife appreciates that as well because she's been through this ride with me. But it's staying grounded and realizing, okay, so what is my exit plan in 10, 20? If I stay focused and I keep doing this and building it, and I can try to keep my vision in mind that in 10, 20 years, I've built something amazing and it's changed, maybe I'll retire someday. I don't know if I'll retire, but I think that's it. I think it's just, I struggle. I think I have it pretty much under control, but I'm somebody that likes, it's like, could easily follow the next shiny object, but I feel like I've defined it though. So I'm going to stay focused.
Okay, good. No, I appreciate that. I think that's the, bringing it back to center and knowing it's that thing that we do and, to know ourselves and then stay center on our life's goal, our mission and places that we're going.
It's hard because like when I made the pivot to become a web designer developer, I mean, is this it? Like, I'm glad I made that decision. Am I happy with who I am today?
Sure.
And I think I am. But it's staying in that. That's the challenge.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a Matthew McConaughey quote around. He gave a speech. I think it's Matthew McConaughey, other than all right, that where he says, my hero is me in 10 years.
Right. Yeah, I heard that speech. Yeah. That's good. So, and then in 10 years, it's 10 years from then.
Right. My hero is me in 10 years. So thank God I'm in my 30s and I have plenty of time left to go. So right. just kind of, first thing is I want to just thank you for taking time to do this with me today and letting me spring this on you, literally spring it on you. Hey, we're going to do this with no planning and just jump right into it. But as tradition would count, the thing that I would like to make sure is, and your insights have been really valuable. I think there's a lot of lessons in what you've talked about today that will help people when they're thinking about how do I manage, what do I think of in my career? Where am I now? How do I stay on path and focus? And how do I make a decision about who I work with and who I'm not going to go? What am I going to tolerate? What's my limit to that? And the impact of doing those. So I think there's some really, really good, some content. The thing I would like to know is just where can people go to find out more about you? I know there is the agency and there is about you as you're also focused on building your personal brand, about what you're doing with you personally. And it's fun to see you on that thread where you're talking about leadership and vendor relations and clients and the love and care that goes into all of that. So how can people find out more about you?
Yes. So two things that I would have someone check out if they're interested is unifiedwebdesign.com. That's my agency. That's my web design agency. If you want to work with somebody, if you're an agency or whatever, a company that wants to work with somebody that cares about the relationship.
Good.
What were you saying?
No, so that's wonderful. Yeah, there you go.
There we go. And the other piece is mattlevenhagen.com. That's my personal, blog / you can find all my stuff there, links to my podcast, links to my products or whatever in the header there. There's a little drop down that links out to things.
But
there's also
kind of a website thing. You can actually click links and stuff.
Thing. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a menu. It works. We've tested it.
I've heard of it.
Yeah. And then right on that homepage, there is a little form with the download to get a guide called Outsourcing Fit. It's kind of a 4-pillar system to do kind of a lot of what we're talking about today, because it kind of ties into everything I do with the agency, because I'm all about, like, if you go to unifiedwebdesign.com, it says, do better together, because it is about doing things together. And that ties into, what I talk about in the guide. It's really, it's become kind of my passion, because I realize how impactful it's been for me. Mm-hmm. I can get up every day and enjoy going to work because of how the people I work with and that I like them. So those are 2 things: unifiedwebdesign.com, mattlevenhagen.com. That's where you can find me, or just Google me. I'm all over.
Right. Just Joogle. And I would, my dad called me one day, I've discovered this thing called Joogle. Anyway, so it's become Joogle for me forever.
Joogle.
But no, there is that. And I would, having seen the guide, read the guide, I would recommend to anybody listening, take time, go download Matt's guide. It's worth the read. And there's some really great nuggets that you can take out of there. The last thing that Matt didn't talk about is the Builders Podcast. So I would encourage you to take some time, since podcasts have become our way of, in a lot of ways, of learning, because we can learn in a time space that we want to learn, and do it in comfort. Do it on the way to the grocery store and on the way home. Do it sitting in a parking lot. I don't know what. Sometimes I listen to a parking lot, but that's more than people need to know.
Just hang out in a parking
lot. But listen to the Builder. I would encourage you also to visit the Builders Podcast as well. So on that note, I will say thank you for joining me today, being guest number 1 on the next interview, and sharing about your path, talking about lessons, helping people with their careers. Grateful to have you here.
Thank you very much, Doland. It's been a real pleasure. I'm so excited I could be the first.
Yeah,
I'm excited. I hope hopefully it was a worthy episode for your.
We'll find out. There you go. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Thanks, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the next interview. For more information about today's guest, be sure to visit the show notes. If you enjoyed the show, give us a follow and be sure to join us here on the next interview.